Yes, it is stressful. Yes, it is. It's dangerous. I'll say that. Should he be up there in the front? No.
3 stage wins already. What impressed me the most was his time trial performance against Ghana.
But having that win, yeah, I think that takes a ton off his shoulders. It takes a ton off his team's shoulders as well. Michael Markov was there with him. Case Bowles with him is there. So, and he beat Dylan Groenewegen. So it's not a Pannekuchen that they passed up for the win there.
And if Jonas is not at his best, I think that Tadej could go as deep as he wants to in the Giro and still be absolutely flying at the Tour de France.
What are you gonna do? What you gonna do, Bobby? What you gonna do? You can't do anything about this guy.
Welcome to Beyond the Podium. Tadej Pogacar on fire in the first week of the Giro d'Italia. We thought he might be. No dominant sprinter yet. Mark Cavendish, however, back to his winning ways in the Tour of Hungary. And Jonas Vingegaard, rather shockingly, announcing he plans to be ready for the Tour de France later on this summer. Christian Vande, VDV, how you been?
I'm doing great, Bob. It's good to see your smiling face. How is it over there? You doing okay? Do you need a hug? Do you need me to fly out? Come see you? I mean, we're getting closer and closer. This year's starting to fly by, but we're going to be in Tuscany.
Yes, you flew right over me in Durango on your way to LA last week to do some commercials. So don't lie saying you're going to drop in. Anyways, everybody knew that Tadej would come out firing in the Giro d'Italia. I think it's gone great for him so far. Some rumors about, or rumblings, I should say, about maybe a little bit too much, too successful, too greedy, blah, blah, blah. But for me, there's no amount of Tadej that is too much.
No, and like you said in the Open, I mean, it's been awesome racing.
Yes.
Let's take Tadej away from this, that he's winning by 2 minutes and 40 seconds, which, by the way, is an insane margin after only 9 stages. Every stage has been great, though, hasn't it, Bob? Like you said, maybe not a 100% dominant sprinter. Jonathan Milan, absolutely a beast out there. He does have the Ciclamina jersey. But apart from that, it's been really fun to watch. And the average speed, by the way, has reflected that. 43 km/h average thus far. And I looked back, I was like, maybe I'm wrong. So I looked back through some previous years. Maybe that isn't as high as I think it is. No, that's really high. In fact, sometimes almost 4 kilometers. It's almost 10% faster than usual. So it's been aggressive racing, even when we think that, okay, the breakaway is going to make it. Wrong. I mean, it really is become a intense Giro, which we don't often see. Maybe we haven't seen in decades. Maybe if ever, Bobby. So fingers crossed, this racing continues to do so in this next week of racing.
Well, Jonathan Milan emerging as maybe the consistently quickest sprinter. Tim Merlier, he's had some ups and downs in the Giro, got a win. Olaf Koy, also, we thought he would be up there, but it's surprising to me that they missed an opportunity. But out of the 4 sprint opportunities, there's been 3 and not one single rider. Jonathan Milan may be the most consistent, but 3 out of 3 for different riders. That doesn't happen very often in the Grand Tours. Last summer, in fact, in the Tour, we saw one sprinter dominate everything. Maybe that's what we've gotten used to, but the Giro, totally different story this year so far.
Yeah, it looks like it's been a little bit more wide open, but I would say the one thing that is consistent is seeing that massive body of Jonathan Milan just ripping his cranks off the bike coming to the line. Even yesterday, I mean, what he did with Olaf coming around him right at the end. And let's not forget about the lead out, of course, Tadej for his teammate. And then poor Jonathan Narvaez getting caught with 75 meters, if that, before the line. Really tight finishing. But no, back to Milan. I've been a fan of his for a while from the team pursuit side. You have to think about him and Filippo Ganna, Consoni, their team Italy winning the Olympics with a 3:42, by the way, 4K world record, beat their own world record in the final. I still don't even know how that's possible, Bob. I mean, I think back 1,000 years ago when I did the team pursuit, we were going over 20 seconds slower. I mean, that was 30 years ago, but damn, that seems like a long time. I mean, that's being lapped and then almost lapped again in all within 4K. Yeah, and that was kind of quick. I mean, that was, we were top 3 in the world. So anyway, that's what's in the background of these guys. Jonathan Milan, he a lot like Ganna, but maybe just a little bit faster. Where we saw Ganna start to go for some of the stage wins himself in the Vuelta a España last year, being able to do a lead out train and being able to sprint for himself. Same thing goes with this guy. Jonathan Milan is a bad man, 24 years of age. He's just going to get better. And I think if he takes some risks here and there, but he's the one consistent factor in all these sprints. If he's not winning, he's getting second. So it's going to be interesting to see if anyone could come close to getting that Ciclamino off his back. So I think that one, no, I'm going to say, I'll answer my own question. I don't think so. And then, of course, with the pink jersey, 240 and 240 to Danny Martinez. And I didn't expect that, Bob. That was not really, Danny Martinez was not on the top of my tongue or tip of my tongue, or really anyone I really thought of going into this race. And here's the last couple of years, all the way back to 2015. And the closest that we come to the margin right now is Valerio Conti back in 2019. He didn't even finish that Giro. So it's
Yes.
it's a runaway train, let's be honest. But that said, even though it is a runaway train, it's been really fun to watch.
Absolutely. And Tadej, 3 stage wins already. What impressed me the most was his time trial performance against Ghana, and was, I mean, far enough behind to lose at the bottom of the climb to the finish line. I raced up that in the Giro in 1985, that same climb, and to take, was it 1 minute and 4 seconds out of Ghana on that 6 kilometers of roadway? It's insane. It's crazy.
And Ghana was averaging 430, 440 or something. Okay, he's a big boy, so that's not crazy numbers for him. But still, that's a massive margin that he took back. It's going to be interesting to see what happens this week of racing. Stage 14, there's another TT. Tomorrow, let's not forget, is not a nice stage. Mountaintop finish, 10,000 feet of climbing. And then next Sunday, the Queen Stage, 222K, Bobby.
Yeah, it's
5,700 meters. That is almost 19,000 feet of climbing. Motorola and up into Livigno. So hopefully the weather's okay for those boys. Motorola's, if you guys don't know at home, it's Bob and I've all suffered up and down it. It's steep as you can possibly imagine. When they need to put grade, what would you call that? When you have to put in the concrete, they have those lines in there so that the cars could get traction. That's when you know when you're in deep shit. You know, when you see a road like that.
Yeah, the traction grooves in the concrete. Yeah, that goes all the way up the Motorola for what, 8Ks, 9Ks, something.
I don't remember. I don't think it's not really the longest of climbs. It's just so small, and it feels like you can't see where the top is because there's so many trees that you're just twisting and turning. And a small road, it's not much bigger than your driveway at times. So there's always a position battle to go into it. And then after that, you just suffer your way up to the top of it. It's a big day. So really 2 big mountain stages, some lumpy days, some sprinting stages, kind of like what we saw here in the TT. So really 3 to look forward to. That 3, let's be honest, 3 more possibilities for Tadej to get 3 more wins. I don't know if he's gonna be able to do that in the flat TT against Ghana. I think I would give him an upper hand. Yeah. But in the mountain stages, I don't know, man.
So a lot of the pre-race speculation was now Tadej might have the best chance to win the Tour de France since Jonas Vingegaard became the dominant rider in the Tour after Jonas's crash in the Tour of the Basque Country. If Tadej could cool his jets, just win by as much as he needed, not as much as he wanted, just win the Giro. Has he gone too deep already to be considered a contender in the Tour de France? No matter what happens to Jonas, Remco, Primoz, etc. in the Tour, has Tadej already blown the Tour de France? That's the question I have for you, Christian.
No, he hasn't. There's one way of thinking that, okay, I'm going to put 50 up on the board, giving it like let's say a basketball analogy, and then be able to just play defense for the second half. And if he's doing that, that makes total sense. Don't have to put the boys on the front. Everyone else has to bring the race to UAE and Tadej, and good luck doing that. So he could go and cherry pick, wait for the time trial, put another 30 seconds to a minute on the guys who are in second and third place in general classification. So if that goes to plan, then no, I don't think he's gone too deep yet. I mean, yes, he was on the front yesterday in a lead out. And that was probably the
which was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, but even that, okay, 2 minutes more work is not going to make or break your Tour de France going forward. So yes, it is stressful. Yes, it is it's dangerous. I'll say that. Should he be up there in the front? No.
I'll grant you that.
Yeah. So no, as it is right now, Bobby, he's doing what we expected him to do. Put all those points up the board early, and now he could be more of a defensive role. And if those guys want to bring the race to him, so be it. But he doesn't need to do anything above and beyond what he's done. But that's the question I think you're alluding to. Can he continue to do that? Or can he even change that mindset? Does he have the capabilities that when he puts his foot over that top tube, he wants to win every day? And that's what we love about him. I hope he doesn't change. But that's a great talking point going forward. That if he continues to do too much, what he's going to have left in the tank in July.
Well, in the last 4 years, Tadej's done 6 Grand Tours. This is his 6th. Only 3 riders have beaten him. One of them is retired, Valverde, and Roglic probably be solid at the Tour. Say that right now. And Jonas are the only 2 riders currently racing that have ever beaten Tadej in a Grand Tour. And if Jonas is not at his best, I think that Tadej could go as deep as he wants to in the Giro and still be absolutely flying at the Tour de France. I could, stand to be corrected, but seems to be at this point in his career at his absolute highest level that we've seen so far in his career, which is already spectacular. So that's saying a lot. Time will tell if he's still as competitive in the Tour de France. Any chance, like you alluded to, that in the last 2 weeks of the Giro, he just sits on his lead? And I mean, mailing it in is not probably what's going to happen, but with 240 over Danny Martinez, why don't you just take it easy a little bit? Give yourself a chance to do the double.
Yeah, I mean, here's a good example for what I think was Saturday stage, correct? Saturday stage was a mountaintop finish, and he most likely could have gone with 3 or 4K to go, and no one was going to be able to hold his wheel. He had discipline, and he just stayed on the wheels. Okay, this is a different conversation. The team, though, on the other hand, had to do a lot of work that day. Tadej did not have to do that much work. So did he use a lot of resources with his team? Yes, he definitely did. But as far as himself, he just sprinted for the finish line. There's even a gap there. He got the time bonus and the win. Did he have to go any deeper than Geraint Thomas did? No. It actually most likely went easier because he's fitter. So no. So therefore, another win for Tadej there. So I think he is actually practicing a little bit more restraint than we're giving him credit for, because I think if he had his way, he'd be going ballistic from the beginning. He can't. He loves it out there. So I think he practiced a little restraint there in the finish line, and it sounded like Micah even asked him if he wanted to go with 3K to go. He's like, no, we're good here. Just keep going to this pace to the finish line. Man, he was bringing guys back. I mean, these are good bike riders attacking full gas, sprinting, and he didn't even have to get out of the saddle, bro. He just
Yes.
What are you gonna do? And also, what you gonna do, Bobby? What you gonna do? You can't do anything about this guy.
I'm going to race for second place if I'm Danny Martinez or Ben O'Connor or Geraint Thomas. That's what I would do, and be on the podium with Pogačar. I mean, also it's a bike race, and we've seen danger. The speed they're going at all times increases the danger, and so you never know until they're in Rome and it's the last day. You never can tell, but I'm going to predict Tadej for the win in the Giro and save enough for the Tour de France.
There you go. I mean, on a big limb there. I will say though that Geraint Thomas I've been so impressed with. G's going to turn 38 years old during this race at the end of May. He got second place last year by a whisker from Primož Roglic, but to be able to come back and be able to be directly on the mark when he needs to be this late in his career is impressive. He did come up short in that TT loss.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, 2 minutes, though, that loss, that was surprising in the time trial. I did not expect him to have that kind of loss, the margin, and especially some of the people who actually beat him as well. And I don't think he expected that as well. So hopefully that's not maybe just one of his days without, where he just didn't have a good day out there, and he'll be able to recover and have a strong week there, and maybe get a little bit closer to Tadej. Well, maybe not. I don't think that's going to happen. But let's at least make sure get some distance, or maybe get some time back on Danny Martinez. But Danny looks great. Ben O'Connor did a big mistake, didn't he? He was the one guy who tried to go with Tadej, and he came right there on the record. That was really stupid on my part. I should have never done that. You fly too close to the sun, you're going to get burnt. And that's exactly what he did. So he's learned his lesson. He's clawed his way back up. So he's sitting in fourth place. Utebrooks looks great. DeBerdi, and Timon Arnsman, really strong, right? And of course, Magnus Sheffield, been so impressed by what he's been doing. The third place in the TT. He's got a flatter TT coming up this week, like we said. So he's got a good chance of doing another good ride. But Ineos in general, strong riding. But again, what are you going to do, man? I think a lot of these guys are realizing they're not silly. They're not thinking that, he's going to self-combust like the drummer from Spinal Tap. It's going to be okay. He's going to make it.
All right, another veteran that's just delivered a rather impressive result for another big story at the Tour de France later in the summer. Mark Cavendish got a very, to my eyes anyways, impressive win at the Tour of Hungary against a high-quality field of sprinters.
It was awesome to see. I mean, we talked about this, what was it, a week ago or 2 weeks ago? The fact that he was not going and doing the Giro d'Italia, which many times Cav likes to race quite a few days before his big objectives. He loves it, to put a number on his back. He loves just the process of going through the race days, especially a Grand Tour like the Giro, where he's had so much success in the past. And it was quite curious that he wasn't taking that same path this year. But having that win, I think that takes a ton off his shoulders. It takes a ton off his team's shoulders as well. Michael Markov was there with him. Case Bowles with him is there. So, and he beat Dylan Groenewegen. So it's not a Pannekuchen that they passed up for the win there. And so, it's a big deal. But right now he has nothing on his schedule, Bob, in between Hungary and the Tour de France. Most likely do the National, something like that, but nothing big. So that means he's going to be training a lot and really putting a lot of faith into his trainer and a lot of faith into his preparation and into his team. So unfortunate for us, because we're not going to be able to see where he's at. We're just going to have to maybe just stalk him online to see where exactly he is and what he's been doing and bother him.
You could just call him or wait for him to text you, Christian.
We'll just bother him. We'll bother him. He'll be ready. He's a gamer.
I'll tell you.
I mean, he's a gamer.
How sharp his sprint was, though, how dynamic it was, his pedaling motion. It was very impressive. The way seeing it was like, whoa, that is a fantastic sprint by Cavendish. The control, the bike handling, and the way he looked coming up to the line was really like at his best, some of his best sprints. And to imagine that he's doing that right now and still has some time to get even further prepared for the Tour de France and his team, that's a strong lead-out team, especially with the addition of Morkov. I'm giving him an edge to beat Eddie Merckx, the tie he's in with Eddie Merckx, to go one better than that in the Tour de France, at least. I'm thinking now maybe it's multiple stage wins for Cav at this year's Tour.
Hey, you know him. Once he gets that swagger back, he's a scary individual to go against. When he gets that first win there, but there's so many other good sprinters, so many good lead-out trains as well. And that's what we've really been seeing over the last couple of years, where it's not one or two dominant teams. It's a ton of dominant teams. And there's only so much that these guys could do, especially with Michael Markov. But I agree with you. Having Case Bowl and Michael Markov, mostly Markov, I think Case has learned a lot over this last year and a half, especially the way that Mark likes to work, especially in the last couple of kilometers. But with Markov, those guys don't have to speak, just they know exactly what they want before they do it, and vice versa. So that's going to be interesting. And let's not forget that is also the 164th win of Cav. So he's got one up on Chippo. So he's officially the best sprinter of all time. There's no more. No, you can't say it. I don't care how many stages. So I don't care how many stages Chippo won in the Giro, and maybe. No, Chippo would never. I was going to say maybe he would admit to that as well, but I don't think Chippo would ever admit to that. No way.
I would agree with that. All right. From Cav to Jonas Vingegaard saying, which surprised me, I don't know about you, that he's planning to do the Tour didn't say he was planning to win, but he said he's planning to be ready to do the Tour de France. And the last couple of years, that's meant that he's gone ahead and won the Tour. So, I mean, it wasn't that many days ago. He just got out of the hospital. And I was surprised that he said he's going to be ready for the Tour, honestly. I mean, he did, yeah, like I said, he didn't differentiate between doing the Tour and winning the Tour, but I mean, I don't see the team trying to do anything except win the Tour if Jonas is there.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, Bob. And again, I think we got a couple more weeks until the front office really makes a hard decision of what they're going to do with Jonas, because
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth it to bring a rider like him to, first of all, have his ego kicked in mentally for what he's going to be able to do. Maybe he's going to be fine. I really don't know. We don't really know. That's another fact that we don't know too much about his injuries. It seems like they've been a bit tight-lipped
Yes.
about what exactly well, we know what happened, but what the damage actually was. And considering that he was in the hospital for what, 10, 12 days before
12
he was
days. Yeah.
released, that's a
Yeah.
long time for anyone. I
Yes.
don't care what's happened, especially the strongest endurance athlete in the world. So it's going to take some time. But if there's anyone who can come back and be good, it's just a question of how good. There's no doubt in my mind that he's going to be good. But to win the Tour de France, everything has to go perfect in the preparation, and that wasn't a small crash. We saw what happened with Tadej last year, and that paled in comparison to what happened in the
Yes.
Basque Country.
Absolutely.
And that was it also later, but who cares, man? It's still a little bit suspect to see that if he's going to truly be at the start line. I hope he is. I think we all hope
Yes.
that he's going to be there,
Yes.
of course, right? I
Absolutely.
mean, why you want all the stars to be at the start of the Tour?
We saw him work for Sepp Kuss at last summer's Vuelta a España. If Jonas is not at his best, any chance that Visma gives the ball to Sepp and Jonas works for him during the Tour?
Yeah,
I'm not sure that I could take it emotionally, though. But is that something that is a possibility in your mind, Christian?
yeah, him and both Americans, Matteo Jorgensen, of course. Let's not forget about what he did in Paris-Nice. I know that Paris-Nice and the Tour de France are two different animals, and I also appreciate that the Volta and the Tour de France are two different animals as well. Um, I'm not going to get too excited yet. Let's just chill out a little bit, Bob. You know that we'd both love for Sepp Kuss to have the leadership position going to the Tour de France to see what he could truly do. But there's still, I shouldn't say that because I keep on saying this, like we only have 6 weeks to go. It's really not that far
Exactly.
away, man. It is not.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already talking about a training camp and a half or two training camps going up to altitude, coming back, going back up, and it's game time. So I would love to know a little bit. The Dutch are really tight-lipped about everything that's going on within their team for good reason. I mean, they have had the best team in the world for the last couple of years. Let's not forget about Wout as well, coming to Tour de
Oh,
France.
yeah.
That was
Yes.
not supposed to happen as well. He was supposed to be
Right.
at the Giro in his big crash at Omloop, which of course was a high, low lows with Matteo winning that day and Wout crashing out.
Mm. Yeah.
So it's been a whipsaw year for good old Visma, hasn't it? So we'll
It
see
has
what they
it.
could do and put together. It's going to be touch and go, depending on what they go for Sepp, for example, or if Jonas is good enough to go for that leadership role.
All right. Well, Olaf Koy most recently in professional cycling, delivering for the squad. Also, his first Grand Tour, it only took him 2 stages to win a stage. So on his third try, Olaf Koy. And I've got a question: is Visma the right team for Olaf Koy, considering winning stages at the Tour de France for a sprinter is what for sprinters that's for most sprinters, anyways, that's what their career is all about. So, how long does Olaf Koy stay on the Visma squad? Maybe as long as he feels is necessary to get to be at his best in the Grand Tours and the sprints. But we saw that yesterday. It's just phenomenal, awesome.
Yeah, and how you talk about Mark Cavendish and what he looked like coming across the line and sprinting to victory. Same thing goes with Olaf. I mean, you have Jonathan Milan, just like I said earlier, just shredding his bike, just brute force, such a strong sprinter. And Olaf just seems like he's, I don't know, a little bit more fluid and
Yeah.
came right from the slipstream where the brute force and really just I don't know, the panache of Olaf being that sprinter who's not as big, he's just strong bike ride, being able to get up and over some of the smaller climbs as well. It's going to be interesting to see where he does land, because you're right. When you have so many cooks in the kitchen in one place, and especially with such a focus on general classification as well,
Yes.
maybe it's not the best team for you, and that's okay. That's where he's want to stay on that team for as long as he possibly can, and maybe on a different team he wouldn't have the tutelage to be as dominant as he is this early in his
Right.
career.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, you really have to take the same thing goes with Matteo. I mean, a lot of people were like, "Oh, I can't believe Matteo's going over from Movistar. He's going to be always the leader." He's already had the best, opening months that you could possibly ever dream of with
Yes,
Matteo.
that's so true.
It's a catch-22, isn't it, Bobby?
Yeah, cream's rising to the top almost every day, and we're going to see more of Tadej Pogacar at the top, I think, for the next 2 weeks in the Giro d'Italia. That's going to be a thrill. What will thrill me next time, Christian, if you turn your lights on so we don't have the disembodied knocking staring at
I hate these lights. They're always like glaring in the background, and I don't want you guys getting up in my business. I'm going to turn down the lights, save you more next time.
Is that your house, Christian?
It is my house. It is. Well,
Okay.
it's my wife's. It's my wife's house, but she lets me in it once in a while.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on this episode of the Beyond the Podium. We'll see you again soon.
See you, Bob.
See you, Christian.
For all your cycling content year-round, subscribe to NBC Sports YouTube page. We got it all.